There's very few people that I think are gonna die imminently, like soon, and he was one of them. And just watching him get sober, watching him graduate from college, just watching him get on fire.
Yeah, because Jacob did that 12-step call. When I walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, that person completely helped me when I was at my bottom too. So it's this chain, like this one person helps another person who then helps another person. And that's the miracle of this program.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour, featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am Olis, an alcoholic in Oakland, California.
And I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Hey, Don.
What do you say, Alice?
I'm really excited about today's show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a question for you before we start.
Yeah?
When is the last time that you went on a wet, live 12-step call?
Not including going to treatment centers. There's been some wet drunks there, but actually a telephone call to go to somebody's house, it's probably been 15, 17 years was the last time I did it. Though I am on the list for the local intergroup. So if somebody calls and asks for help, I'm on the list and I get called from time to time. And I have returned lots of telephone calls to people, but never had anyone ask for anybody to come out. But 17 years ago I did, and I got a friend. We went and talked to the guy, asked him if he wanted to quit drinking, and he said, yes, man. And it was intense. And asked him, well, do you want to pour out your alcohol you've got here? And he was going, yeah, I do. And we helped him pour out all his alcohol and took him to a meeting that night. We walked into the meeting, and a friend of his was in there, and he had no idea that he would know anybody at an AA meeting.
Yeah.
Turned him over to him, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most places in the country, and as you know, I'm a little bit of a nomad gypsy girl.
Yeah, you travel all
Where's
over.
Waldo, man? In most of the places I've lived, we don't really do wet 12-step calls anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people think we don't do them in Alcoholics Anonymous anymore, but that's not true. There are parts of the country, little pockets of enthusiasm, where 12-step calls are alive and well. I was telling you earlier that I went to New Orleans to visit a friend, like a vacation, a girls' trip. I think we were there for the International Conference of Young People in AA. He called and said, which one of y'all want to go on a wet 12-step call with me? And the other people were like, what? And I was like, I'll go.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go, right?
It's beautiful.
And I'm really excited that our hot topic today is about live wet 12-step calls. There are different kinds of 12-step calls. I recently fell off a ladder I shouldn't have been on and fractured my leg. And the members of my home group did, what maybe you could argue are 12-step calls on me. They showed up, they made sure that I was okay because of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Not because I was drunk, but because I was sick and shut in. But going to see a drunk person and introducing them to our way of life, is a beautiful, powerful thing that I hope our listeners can hear about and be inspired to start doing.
Yeah, it is a skill. You learn by doing it, and you learn from watching the experience of others because you never go alone.
Never go.
Recently I had a friend who is a delegate who has rotated out. She said that now she's doing direct service instead of general service. Direct service is one alcoholic talking to another. Yeah. And she said she went on a 12-step call and was like going, I've kind of not been using these skills in a long time. She's been offering lots of other things to AA, but not that. So it is something that we need to do and learn to do.
And I don't know that one kind of service that's better than another.
Right.
My sobriety date's May 21st, 1987, which is stunning to me. And I've spent all my recovery in direct service. Mm-hmm. I've not been a general service girl. I like the general service people. I like the concepts. I like all that. I really like the interaction with other drunks. For people who do general service, it's a different experience, I would imagine, than people who do the direct service. And I think, the best opportunity, which is why I'm considering general service, is to do all of it.
Oh, did I hear that?
No, you did. You did. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Okay, well, today's episode is a hot topic. Hot topic.
Don, there's a lot to talk about today with this hot topic. Come on, Don, use your words. This is a talk show.
Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. Abraham Lincoln said that.
I thought my mother said that. My mother used to say that all the time. Who knew she was quoting Abe? Yeah. Okay.
The Plain Language Big Book is now available. It's intended to help readers better understand the book Alcoholics Anonymous, fondly called the Big Book by AA members. It's considered the basic text of the AA program of recovery. This new book describes AA's 12-step program in simpler language than the original book, which was published in 1939.
The Plain Language Big Book presents in a simpler language
the ideas contained in the Big Book, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Specific AA-related words and phrases used in the original 1939 book.
Vocabulary in the original book that may be dated or not familiar to readers.
And the core content of the original Big Book without member stories, often called the abridged edition.
The Plain Language Big Book is AA General Service Conference approved literature and is available now for $11.
And as always, AA encourages ordering our literature via your local distribution sources, groups, districts, intergroups, and central offices, as they play a vital role in local 12-step activities.
All right, let's meet our guests for today's hot topic. Hot topic. In-person 12-step calls. Go around and introduce yourselves. Q.
I am Q. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is November 10th, 2016. My home group over in New Orleans is Music and Gay Chatter. It's a Saturday night meeting. We meet at 7 o'clock, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Alice and Don, for inviting me to this podcast.
Thanks, Q.
Hi, my name is Katie and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 31st, 2023. And my home group is the Three Legacies group, which meets Thursdays at 8 p.m. in New Orleans.
Thanks, Katie.
Hey, I'm Jacob. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date's January 21st, 2020. My home group's in the Vineyard, and we meet Mondays at 7 p.m. in New Orleans.
I want to thank you guys all for coming. Would you guys talk about how you came to AA?
Yeah, so I came to AA via treatment center. You know, just what got me to the treatment center. We all know the craziness in that. It started out great, and then it just turns to hell. And
yeah,
in that treatment center, that feeling of hopelessness that I felt subsided when AA came to that treatment center. So really, for all intents and purposes, that was my first introduction to a 12-step call. And because what I thought AA was and what AA actually is, two different things.
Two different things, yeah.
I got with a sponsor who was doing the real program of AA. He introduced me to the steps as outlined in the book titled Alcoholics Anonymous. And I found a higher power through that work that I can do business with. And Alice, I'm here to tell you that I can't be more grateful.
Yeah.
Q, what was the hardest thing that AA asked you to do?
Rely on a higher power. I thought that becoming self-sufficient was the goal. Like, oh, well, stop drinking. I'm going to try to figure it out and do it on my own. I thought that if I could figure it out, if I can get the right formula, if I can change the external things. If I could get enough money, if I can get enough this and that, then I'll be okay. But AA asked me to find a higher power and actually find one that I can do business with. Y'all got to understand that when someone mentioned the word God, anger and frustration came into my heart. It's like, okay, y'all telling me about God, and I'm not an atheist, but y'all asking me to do business with someone or something that doesn't want to do business with me. And I was really angry and hurt. That's why, again, when I'm doing a 12-step call, I can understand the hurt and the anger because I was there. My first days in AA at the beginning was just anger and frustration and hurt. I just didn't want anyone to touch me. I didn't want anyone to look at me. I just didn't want to exist. I don't say this a lot, so I'm saying this on a national podcast. I was literally suicidal at the beginning.
And thank you for saying that, Q. We don't talk enough, I think, about the suicide ideation that we have when we get here. But the book talks about it, right? We bristle with antagonism, right? And then we get to the jumping off place. Thank you for your honesty and your openness.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things I think is beautiful about the panel we have today is we've got Katie. And Katie has an anniversary coming up. Katie's going to be 2 next month. And here she is all the way in. Katie, talk about how you got to AA.
Thank you so much. It has been a long 2 years, and I truly never thought that I would get to this point. What brought me to AA was I was brought to treatment against my will. And, everyone was talking about this AA, what meetings they would go to, the people that they would meet. And I was really in that state of denial. I heard people talking around me about, this program that saved their lives, but I was determined to not be an alcoholic. I was 19 years old when I walked into the rooms. I just didn't think that it would work for me. I thought, okay, this is cool for you guys, but I'm not an alcoholic. I actually walked in saying that I had binge drinking disorder. Very, very in denial.
That's a much nicer term.
Exactly.
We have that as a diagnosis somewhere?
I looked it up on the internet doing one of those, am I an alcoholic BuzzFeed quizzes? And, just lying to myself, feeding myself that denial. So I started going to meetings while I was doing an IOP program, and it never really clicked for me. I was going to those meetings, but I wasn't actually working the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And surprise, surprise, everything stayed the same. I was still miserable. I was still restless, irritable, and discontented. I had no idea why. But then things got bad enough and I reached that, gift of desperation, that point where I have these paths in front of me. Do I continue living in alcoholic misery and torture? Do I end my life, or do I try? And for reasons beyond my control, because of a power greater than myself, I ended up actually trying. And I did what people told me. I got a sponsor, I got a home group, I got a service position. I worked the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and my life just changed drastically. Once I tried, I realized the miracle that this program is. Talking about what is the hardest thing AA has asked of me, I think it's continuing to keep that willingness. Because I want to be able to do things on my own terms. And I sometimes want to just not go to a meeting because I'm tired. I don't want to write down 2 notebooks worth of resentments and fear inventory and all of that. I don't necessarily want to do that work all the time, but realizing that I get to do the work. It's an opportunity. AA has truly saved my life, and I never thought that I would get to where I am now. And I think, continuing to do the work, remembering how I got to where I'm at now and continuing to do those same things is the hardest thing. I think remembering how it was to be on day 0 sober. And every time I have that thought of maybe I don't want to go to this meeting, maybe I want to not do my step work, reminding myself of that rock bottom is difficult at times.
Well, our lives get better.
Mm-hmm.
And when our lives get better, that sense of desperation eases back. But I like what Q and Katie have both shared about this desperation. That's the entrance to AA. I had to be willing to get sober somebody else's way.
Mm-hmm.
The running joke with Don and Sam and I is that we'll log on and I know a bunch of the people that end up being guests.
You do have a large, what do you call, Rolodex in the old terms?
Stick around, right? But this is the first time that we've had a guest that I've actually stayed in their home. Jacob has actually taken me in as a stray. So Jacob, please come on in and introduce yourself.
I'm Jacob. So I got sober twice in Alcoholics Anonymous. I came to AA right across the bay from you, Olis, in San Francisco. I got sober in 2006 at high noon at 16th and Mission when I was 25 years old. I was an all-day, everyday drinker or other substance user. It was an all-day operation for me just to wake up and be functional. But the first time I came to AA, like that was the first time I'd ever tried to quit. I didn't know quitting was an option. I remember my sponsor read to me the doctor's opinion. We read the line, if you can relate to this, the only relief we have is entire abstinence. And it just kind of hit me like, wow, like entire abstinence, the one thing I never tried. I always tried to regulate my drinking by doing drugs. I tried to regulate my drinking by regulating my drinking. I tried a lot. And the reason this topic today is like so dear to me is because both times I came to AA, I didn't come sober. And I don't like judge other people's experience and their practices in AA, but I hear a lot, oh no, I won't go talk to drunk people. That's not me because had AA been doing that, the message never would have been carried to me. When I came back to AA, I relapsed in 2019 with 13 years sober, not knowing that I was no longer a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. The alcoholic insanity had returned long before the drink. And I didn't even know that I hadn't been at a meeting in a couple of years. There was a lot I didn't know. But luckily, all of my friends were still in AA and they knew. I came back in 2020, and that was my first experience where I actually couldn't quit. At 25, when I came loaded to AA, they were just like, okay, go home and throw everything out. And that's what I did. And then at 38, I couldn't do that. And so I ended up in my first detox. I got a sponsor when I got out who basically was just like, how many sponsees did you have the day that you relapsed? And it was 0. Now, I was 13 years sober, having worked the 12 step and had a spiritual experience, and I had slowly lost. He kind of had my number. I was the type I'd ask you to be my sponsor. I'd want to work the steps again. And really what that meant was I just wanted a captive audience to talk about myself for 2 hours and do a fifth step. And he was just like, I'm not going to do that with you. You need to go read this book with other alcoholics before I'm even willing to pick up this book and read it with you. Go to Bridge House, which is this treatment center.
Wow.
Go to Bridge House, start reading the book with these guys. Show me that you're willing to carry the message. If you're a man in AA in New Orleans, you can just show up with your big book and you can find someone to read the book with.
Wow.
Monday through Friday at 6:45 p.m.
Road trip.
Here I am 5 years and 8 months later, still doing that type of stuff.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jacob.
Oh, and the hardest thing that you all asked me to do was stop drinking when I needed a drink the most.
Yeah.
Woo, that part's hard. There's so much in what you guys have said that relates back to the hot topic today. In your area, are wet 12-step calls rare or are they regular?
They're regular.
They're regular.
Yes, it's a thing.
Give the instruction about how 12-step calls are done in your area.
So in AA, there aren't rules. There's traditions. We sharing our experience. I've been able to sum it up into 3 from my experience, and I'm sure my other friends here can add to what I'm saying.
I like this. 3 bullet points, okay?
Number 1, never go alone. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Never go alone.
Give 2 examples of reasons.
One example, that could be danger.
Yes.
That's unseen. It's a volatile situation. Is there extreme danger? But the other thing, too, which, again, is not written in stone, is we want to have someone with some solid sobriety time under their belt. A sponsee of mine called me. Now, he only had a couple months. He called me, just as he should do, right? Not because I knew everything, but because I'm guiding him through the steps. and he called me saying that his friend was in trouble. He definitely needed me there, as that second person, as the person who having experience in recovery. The reason why I'm making it a point to be solid in your recovery is because there's a very high chance you will see alcohol and drugs.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they call it, because they're drinking. Now, it might be a situation where they've already drank and, you don't see the actual bottle.
Yeah.
But when I arrived with my sponsee, we didn't even go in until we kind of had a meeting. We even prayed and meditated before. We brought God into it. And so once we got in, that was paraphernalia all over the place. It wasn't triggering to me, thank God. For my sponsee, I pulled him aside. And actually, that was a third person. Having that third person help, because I was able to pull, my sponsee aside, say, hey, are you doing okay? He said, I'm a little.
Yeah.
I said, okay, maybe, you just go take a break and let us take it from here.
Q, I like what you say. You want someone with long-term sobriety, and then you want someone new, because they both have something different to bring to a new person. The person with longer-term sobriety can guide the whole encounter, and the person who's new that's somebody who recently quit drinking and can relate.
Yes, that's definitely a great dynamic. Having, someone with a lot of time, having someone with the fresh end. So it's that relatability with the fresh end person, and the person with a lot of time is providing that stability, sturdy, stable basis of recovery for this.
Yeah. So Katie, do you have a similar framework? Like never go alone, make sure you're safe, be prepared to be exposed to alcohol and drugs?
Yes, absolutely. It's better if I get a call from someone who knows a man that is struggling. I will always refer that person to another male. That's just something in order to protect my own safety. And being with someone else with more sobriety time. The experience that immediately comes to mind, I was around 4 months sober. My friend who had a year sober had asked me to go to a meeting with her. I got there and she was drunk. It was a huge surprise for me. I didn't know that she had relapsed, but I immediately knew that I needed more help. And I think when you get a 12-step call, the most important thing to realize is, okay, am I out of my depth? What else do I need? Now that I have more time, I'm more comfortable dealing with those calls on my own. But definitely at the beginning, making sure that I'm not the only person there and that there's a community of people to talk to this individual.
And don't you think women should go on a 12-step call for women and men go on a 12-step call for men?
Yes, I don't necessarily want to make it a gender thing, but I think it just makes more sense. I think that naturally women tend to connect to women better and vice versa for men. And I think at least, when I've been in those states drunk, I've always been comfortable calling women.
I want to push this to you, Jacob, because you got a 12-step call and it was a woman. And as a gay man, I don't see any problem with a gay man going to help a woman, right? But you called me as a woman and said, I need to take a woman with me. And so I think that there's sexual orientation, right? Yeah. I've seen men do 12-step calls with women and their motive was wrong. And so I think that there's safety not only on the people doing the 12-step call, but the sick and suffering alcoholic needs to also be safe. So Jacob.
Yeah. Well, the 12-step call we went on, I call that a failed 12-step call for me because I ended up with the dog that I still have off that 12-step call. So I'd say the rule that I've added to my 12-step list is don't say you'll take care of their dog.
It's a new bullet point.
But my rule is I kind of don't go in with any expectations. And I make sure someone has a car because if they're ready to go to detox, we can take them to detox right now.
Yeah.
But usually they're not ready to go to detox. A lot of the times they just want someone to talk to. Give them my number. I might follow up with them a couple of times and see how they're doing, offer to meet them at a meeting. But I do know that situations like these, they remember that AA showed up.
I want to add a fourth thing to the list. We're not putting on a cape, We're not there to save anybody.
Right.
We're there to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. And you said it, Jacob, let go of the outcome.
So before going on a 12-step call, I even do this before if I'm going to go speak at the hospital institution, is to read how to do a 12-step call in the big book.
In the chapter, Working with Others. Yeah.
What do you do on a 12-step call? What is the approach?
So you mentioned the book. So specifically on page 91, Working with Others, at first engage in general conversation. We're just chatting. We're not talking about I'm not, here's the book, like you need to read this. We're not doing that. And, after a while, I can start talking about my drinking. We're just going on the call. We don't know what to expect. Really, for me, as the alcoholic, service
That's
is
why we're doing it.
Save my butt.
Absolutely.
I've heard you're kind of like getting the temperature of the other person. Where are they coming from?
In my experience, usually someone else called. I'm imagining when I was in my active alcoholism, I might just be calling in a blackout.
Yeah, that's true.
I might not even be aware. I might go, blah, 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 blah. Or I might just be calling just to have someone to talk to. Honestly, and y'all talked about some ulterior motives earlier, I might just be calling just to see if I can get a little something from somebody. And that's real talk. Like that, we don't know why that person is calling.
Oh, so we get their temperature. What's next?
I think it's a really important question that we ask them when we get there. And early on in the conversation is, do you want to quit drinking? Because I'm going to stay either way for probably an hour.
Right.
But it's definitely going to steer the conversation from my end in some sort of direction.
The answer to that question is going to tell us everything we need to know where this conversation is going. If you don't want to stop, this 12-step call might end kind of quickly. But if you do want to stop, we're coming here to help you. And then the book even elaborates on like matching their mood. If their mood is friendly and lively and they kind of
tell funny stories,
telling funny jokes, I'm going to laugh with them. I'm going to let them know that they have a safe space with me.
When you think about the first example of a 12-step call in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, in Bill's story, Bill didn't want to stop drinking. Bill didn't call and say, I want to stop drinking. Bill is thrilled that he has enough liquor around the house to last him until tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm there for the 12-step call for my sobriety.
I actually have a funny story. And we were at the meeting after the meeting at the burger place that they go to. And there was a guy with a big cut. He was like bleeding at the meeting and he was very, very drunk. Me and another guy took him to another restaurant that was open later. And we did a 12-step call and, we weren't trying to convince him to go to detox, but he was drinking enough that like detox would have been an option. So like he's one of those I really thought he could die at any day. When he did get sober about a year later, he asked me, has that ever worked for you? Because I didn't go to detox that night. He's like, I actually was pretty pissed. And I was like, well, let me ask you this. Did we disturb your drinking? And he was like, yes, then it worked.
It worked. Yeah. Katie.
There is no perfect thing that I can say in order for someone to get sober. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. If I just said those perfect words, in these 12-step called like situations, all we can really do is be there for other people, but there's nothing perfect that can be done. I also think in 12-step calls, de-escalation is a huge part of it. And I recently went through de-escalation and we learned about the Claire method, which is center, listen, affirm, respond, and action. And I think that that's something that is super applicable in this response. Center, that's what we were talking about with checking the temperature, seeing where that person is at, listening is so important, because if I just spew off a bunch of AA stuff, tell them what to do, they are not going to care. I think people reach out in those moments because they need someone to talk to. And the best thing that I can do for that person is listen and affirm them, let them know that they are valid in the way that they are feeling. And then I can sort of share my experience with them, but only after I do those things.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
That's great. Folks, we want to hear your thoughts on in-person 12-step calls. We want to hear your experience. Call 212-870-3418 and leave us a message. You can also find the number at aagrapevine.org and click the podcast button up top.
I want to thank you guys for a beautiful episode. Be able to share with people that 12-step calls are alive and well in Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob, Q, Katie.
Thanks for having that.
Thank you, guys.
My name is Jeffrey W. I am from Peachland, British Columbia. I subscribe to the Grapevine because it connects me to the worldwide fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous outside of my area.
The Grapevine and Lavinia apps are now available for both iOS and Android phones.
To get yours, go to the App Store on your phone and search for AA Grapevine or Lavinia.
I was happy to get to my second AA birthday because then I could say I had years of sobriety. At my fourth birthday, I was even happier. Then I could say I had years and years.
And now that you've got 30 years, what do you say?
I got a few 24 hours.
It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.